the parent therapist dynamic, because you mentioned communicating with parents a little while ago. Are there any insights you've had over the last few years on what's helped you communicate with parents better to reach that overall goal of providing better service for the kid? Because at the end of the day, that's, what all the therapists like yourself are working towards, is providing the service and then creating an environment for kids to thrive even when the therapist isn't around. Have you had any insights in that realm where you thought like, oh, this is a better way to communicate with parents, or I had this experience or story of success or failure that's informed the way you communicate?
Mhm. There's definitely been a lot of strategies and things I've learned when teaching parents. But I'll say first is that as a CF, sometimes I think internally it was hard for me to walk into somebody's house and try to talk to them about how to talk to their kid because here I am, they might not know, but I'm fresh out of grad school. I don't have kids of my own. Who am I to kind of come in and teach them these things? But you have to remember how much you've learned and how much you know. And then some actual, like, concrete strategies that I find that work is kind of meeting the parents where they're at and then lifting them up from there. So if you come in on day one and you say, "We're gonna do this, 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 this. You need to buy this toy. You need to do this. You need to change this." Most parents aren't really going to want that. So doing just a little bit at a time, inviting the parents in the session, I think is really important for early intervention, and modeling for them. And sometimes I'll, be engrossed in something I'm doing with their kid, and then I'll stop for a second and I say, "Hey, it looks like we're just playing, but the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because this." And so a lot
Mm,
of times the parents appreciate that. They're able to just kind of sit back and watch. And then I can kind of let them know the reason for what I'm doing. And I try to use a lot of things that they have in their house already. Just the other day, this I was playing with a kid and we were playing cars and he really wasn't saying anything. And he had car ramps and things, but it was put away. So I took out a book and I made the book into a ramp and I said up and down, under,
yeah.
over. And his mom was like, "What? Where did you think to use the book like that as a tool?" I said, "You just work with the kid." He was enjoying what we were doing. He didn't want the ramp, and we took it made something into something new and exciting.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Using your resources and being able to work on the fly seems like such an important attribute for therapists to have, especially since, if you're doing home visits, your base is different every place that you're going to. So learning to adapt and learning to use those different tools seems very important.
And it's really important to be flexible, as a SLP who travels because when you're in homes, a lot of times there's distractions and things going on. When you're in schools, sometimes they don't have a table and chair for you. So you have
Yeah.
to kind of learn to adapt and find ways that you can still complete your activities, but in a way that fits the mold of where you're going because it's not really your position to change those things, you
Yeah.
know?
Have you ever had like it's a sticky situation with a parent where maybe the vibe was off or miscommunication that you ended up figuring out, but at first it was like kind of a struggle to get to where you wanted to be with the three-way communication with you, the kid, and the parent?
That's a really good question because I just was dealing with something like that recently.
Yeah.
So one thing I really try to do is kind of pay attention to the parents' reactions to different things I'm doing. I'm not there to discipline the child, but if maybe I say, "Oh no, we're not playing Mr. Potato Head yet," some parents are very defensive and say, "Oh no, we don't say no." Other parents are like, "Stop, get out of there," to the kid. So I kind of try to gauge where they're at and kind of like just push a little bit beyond that. I'm not going to come in and just say, no, no, no. So recently I was telling a family, I say, you know, this student, he's getting really close to putting that sentence together. "I want crayons. I want a toy." So I said, what I do is I hold the object and I kind of wait a second and wait for him to fill in the blank. And the next couple of sessions, the parents were really like watching. Anytime I would say, "I want," and I would freeze, they'd, like, stare at me. And I
Mhm.
kind of realized something was going on, so I realized I think they thought that I was withholding everything from him until he would make a sound or say a word.
Yeah,
And so I kind of judged
like
their
you're playing
body
keep
language
away.
exactly, like, "You can't have this until you say a sound." So I said, "Oh, I just wanted to make it clear when I'm withholding something from him, it's just for a second or 2, just until I get even eye
Mhm.
contact or a little sound." But I said, "I'm not gonna sit here for minutes and minutes at a time and wait for him to
Yeah.
speak," you know? And I could see them kinda relax and say, "Oh, okay, that makes sense, that's what we do too." And so without kind of addressing that I realized there was a misunderstanding, I just clarified myself to make sure that they were understanding that their kid was still having fun.
Yeah, yeah, like, it wasn't a taunt, you were just waiting for some sort of signal, like you said, eye contact or some sort of recognition of the thing that the kid wanted.
Yeah, and it was
You're
only
not you're
for a
not like
moment, yeah.
yeah, you're not, like, holding a cupcake on a string and just, like, pulling it away from them when they reach for it.
Mhm.
But that's something I think deserves more recognition, about SLPs is the fact that you're not only navigating so many different styles of communication with kids, but you're also encountering so many different parenting styles. Parents can be more aggressive, parents can be more laid back. There's an entire spectrum of everywhere in between. Some parents never tell their kids no, some parents only tell their kids no.
Mhm.
So I do think that SLPs deserve more credit for basically, like, it is a part of the job, but it's also an unspoken part of the job where you're kind of, like, therapizing parents too while you're interacting with the kid because you need everyone to work together.
Mhm. Exactly, yeah. So the parents, especially in early intervention when you're in their house, are such a big piece, that parent training, and so you have to find a balance between interacting with the parents, with the kids, and not pushing the boundaries of what their family rules are and things like that.
Yeah.